So you've done it. After months, maybe even years of gathering all your records and finally filing that VA claim, it all comes down to one single appointment, your compensation and pension exam. Look, this thing can feel like the scariest part of the whole process, but it really doesn't have to be. Let's dive in and get you ready for that short window of time that can make all the difference in the world.
Wow, that quote right there really sets the stage, doesn't it? And it comes from a former VA CNP examiner, so this is an insider who knows exactly what goes on in that room. The takeaway here is crucial. This is not just some casual chat with a doctor. It is a formal evaluation. Your rating, your benefits, it all hangs on this. You really only get one shot, so let's make it count.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we're going to break down the system you're walking into. Then, we'll get into a practical pre-exam checklist. After that, we'll talk about what to do inside the exam room, cover some legal rights you probably didn't know you had, and finally, wrap up with the critical steps you need to take the minute you walk out the door.
Okay, first things first. Let's pull back the curtain on this whole CNP exam process. Knowing who you're actually talking to and where this one appointment fits into the bigger picture, well, that's the foundation for a winning strategy right there.
Now check out this number, 93%. That's pretty wild. As of July 2024, that's how many of these CNP exams are done not by VA employees, but by third-party contractors. This is a huge change from how things used to be, and it means the odds are overwhelming that you'll be meeting with a contractor, not a doctor who actually works for the VA.
And if you want to understand just how big this whole operation is, get a load of this. $5 billion. That's what the VA spent on these contractor exams in just 1 year. This isn't some side hustle, you know? It's a massive, full-blown industry that's now at the very center of the VA claims process. So, where does this exam actually fit in? This flowchart lays out the whole journey for you. If you follow the path from when you first file your claim, you'll see this one critical step pop up. That single box generates a report that goes right back to the VA, and believe me, it has a ton of influence on their final decision. It's a make-or-break moment.
Okay, now that we've got the lay of the land, let's get into what you can do about it. Section 2 is all about preparation. You wouldn't go into a mission without a plan, and the CNP exam is no different. Honestly, the work you do before you even get there is just as important as what happens in the room.
So, here's your homework. First, go look up the actual rating criteria for your condition. You need to know what symptoms the VA is actually looking for. Next, really think about your worst days. The VA rates you on how bad things get, not on how you feel on a good day. Talk to your spouse or caregiver. They see things you might not notice. And please, bring copies of your buddy letters and other key papers. And last, this one is non-negotiable. You have to show up. You must attend the exam.
This right here is so important. The common mistakes versus what you should actually be doing. The biggest trap we fall into is downplaying things. You know, that I'm doing okay instinct. You have to fight that and be brutally honest. And never, ever assume the examiner read your file. Most of the time they haven't. It's your job to connect the dots for them and explain how your symptoms screw up your work, your family life, your everything.
All right, now we're inside the room. The prep work is done. From this moment on, it is all about one thing: communication. Every single word matters. The way you answer their questions is going to directly shape the medical opinion that examiner writes.
Just take a second to read this quote. This is a perfect example of a powerful answer from a vet who ended up getting a 100% rating for PTSD. Notice what he's doing? It's short, it's honest, and it focuses completely on the impact it has on his life, his mood, his relationships, his finances. No jargon, no long rambling stories. That's the bullseye you're aiming for.
So let's lay down some ground rules. On the do side, be specific. Don't just say my back hurts. Say I can't lift my granddaughter because of the shooting pain in my lower back. See the difference? On the don't side, please avoid all the legal terms or what they call VSO speak. Examiners can smell it a mile away and it just puts them on guard. Remember, your job isn't to prove your claim in there, it's just to accurately describe your condition.
Okay, this next part is really empowering because it's not about what you have to do, it's about the rules the examiner has to follow. These are their legal obligations, and just knowing them can completely level the playing field. So let's start with a court case you should know about, Barr versus Nicholson. This ruling from 2007 established a really basic principle that protects you the second you walk into that room.
And that principle is simply this: you are a competent witness to what you experience.
You don't need a PhD to know that your knee locks up or that you have nightmares. Your testimony is evidence, and an examiner can't just dismiss what you say because they didn't happen to see it during your 20-minute appointment.
And here's the second one to remember. Nieves Rodriguez versus Peek. This one is all about the quality of the report that the examiner has to write.
What this basically means is that an examiner can't just check a box that says not service-connected and call it a day. They are legally required to provide a medical reason for why they came to that conclusion. An opinion that doesn't explain itself is, legally speaking, worthless, and it can't be used against you. And guess what? Their duties don't stop there. The VA's own rulebook says they have to review your file before the exam. Other court rulings mean they have to consider your condition during flare-ups, not just on a good day. They even have to think about the side effects of your pain medication. These are the established rules of the process.
The exam is over. You've left the clinic. You can breathe a sigh of relief, but your work is not quite done yet. What you do in the hours and days right after that appointment is absolutely vital to protecting your claim.
I want you to follow these 4 steps to a T. The second you get in your car, write down everything you remember. How long was the exam? What questions did they ask? What test did they do? Then turn those notes into a factual, unemotional memorandum for record, an MFR. Next, upload that MFR to your claim on va.gov. And finally, request a copy of the actual CNP exam report.
And this slide right here shows you why that MFR is your ace in the hole. If you get a bad decision because the exam was flawed, maybe it only lasted 5 minutes or the examiner clearly didn't read your file, your memo that you submitted before the decision was made becomes powerful evidence. It creates a paper trail that a higher-level reviewer simply can't ignore. So let's just boil it all down. The CNP exam really comes down to just a few key things. Be honest, be specific, and always, always describe your worst days. Keep your answers short. If they don't seem to be looking at your records, gently push them to. And if they don't ask how your condition affects your daily life, you tell them anyway. Stay calm, stay civil, and document everything. That's the playbook.
You've already put in so much work to get your claim this far. The CNP exam is really that last critical hurdle. The big question is, are you ready for those 30 minutes that matter most? Because with the right prep and the right knowledge, you can absolutely walk into that room with confidence, give them the real story, and get the rating you earned.